The year is 2003. Elephant has just been released, and a group of friends and myself gather around one of the fold-up rolling tables, eating our sensibly priced McDonald's cheeseburgers and personal Pizza Hut pizzas, reasonably hot from the cafeteria at Yale Secondary School. The buzz around the new album is front and center, and within the group of friends, Darren chimes in and asks, "What's so great about the new album?" Me, locked and loaded with my trusty Sony Discman with G protection, decides to give him a sample of just how good the new record is. But instantly, my mind begins to race. Which song will I pick? I need a song that's not the big hit, that perfectly encapsulates everything amazing about this band. Scanning the track list, I panic and I pick Ball and a Biscuit, a song over 5 minutes that's got one hell of a slow build. Darren listens to it for a bit, takes off the silver over-ear wraparound headphones with a, what else he got look on his face. Immediately, I knew I made the wrong song choice. This is the hardest podcast to podcast, and the song this week is the song I should have played for Darren. That song is Black Math.
I'd like to introduce to you a band that you know and love. Come to you like the sound of equipment being thrown from a moving van, the sound of dead cell phones and oil rigs, the sound of empty parking lots and school buses. They love to live and live to love. Ladies and gentlemen, Jesus Children of America, the White Stripes.
Hello, everybody. Come on in. The water's great. My name's Ryan Schaap, and this is the hardest podcast to podcast. I just want to thank everyone right off the bat for a very warm and positive response to our inaugural episode, which was, if you didn't listen yet, I'm lonely, but I ain't that lonely yet, with Hotel Mira's lead singer Charlie Kerr. It was a fantastic discussion, and for a debut episode, I heard from a handful of new names and new faces that had some positive things to say. So I just want to thank you for that. Just a quick friendly reminder to make sure you're following us on your podcast platform of choice, and follow us on social media, all across social media, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky, where we are hardest pod to pod, just about everywhere. So make sure you're following and interacting with us. I want to hear from you. So message me, send me a DM. You can write us an email at hardestpodtopod@gmail.com and let us know what you think. Let us know what you think the mystery songs could be, and let us know what song you really want to hear us review and discuss, and why. We're slow and steady building a really neat community here that shares an appreciation for the White Stripes, and just the interactions within the last week have been just really, really special. In regards to the show's lofty goal of having Jack White on here 3 times to discuss 3 mystery songs, let me provide you with a progress report. There is no progress at this time, but just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep spreading the word. We're going to keep growing this audience, growing this footprint, and momentum and word of mouth is gonna help us achieve that goal. That's for damn sure. Great song this week, a staple of the White Stripes live catalog, a standout track that's a standout track off Elephant that has had an incredible lifespan and still going strong. I can't imagine a song that could be more topical, despite being written 22 years ago. This is a song about frustrations and challenges with instructors and authority figures just not wanting you to properly learn how to do something, as Vince McMahon's estranged, miserable wife is doing everything in her power to dismantle the Department of Education, and openly wondering for how many years students can learn from AI teachers. Like, hearing Black Math and really just taking in those lyrics and like listening to this song this week it's felt It's felt very real, very topical, and just hitting really close to home. And to all the teachers out there, you deserve more money, and you should not be buying your own supplies. Before we get into this conversation with Josh and myself, I think it's the perfect time to hit pause on this episode and go to your music app, Apple, Spotify, whatever. Go listen to Black Math. Get reacquainted with this song so that the song is fresh in your mind for this conversation. And you know what else? You know what else is going to help us achieve our goal? Our lofty goal is a spike in listenership for every episode that we put out. Let them know we're out there. This is a great way to show the footprint of this podcast. Our guest this week is the captivating and engaging host of Wrestling Brain on Twitch and Patreon, my dear friend and wedding officiant, Mr. Josh Custodio. Josh, how are you doing today?
Horrible.
Really?
No, I'm great, man. Having it just, it's off the top of every show. Your listeners are they're latently going, oh, who cares? They're going to fumfer for a bit here. I yanked them in. They're like, oh, this guy's going to be saying fine to good is the range on a podcast. I said horrible. They said, whoa, hang on. I was lying. I'm doing good as gold, baby. It's good to be me.
Man, it is it is great to have you here. Very excited to to talk about this band that we mutually admire a great deal. I also should say that you and I will be front and center for the No Name tour next month when it comes to Vancouver. What is your White Stripes Jack White live experience like? Your history?
Oh, so actually maybe less than I would like. So I saw the Get Behind Me Satan tour at the Orpheum with the big apple hanging from the ceiling, and I saw the Dead Weather at the Commodore, which was actually fantastic. And their set on that tour, not just what they played, but rather their backdrop was outstanding. It was a very cool vibe for the Dead Weather show. And I saw the Stripes at Deer Lake Park, but I think that's it. And there's a show in there that I missed. I know that they've been here times that I wasn't present, but I think those 3 times I've seen Jack. Like I know him, Jack White. Yeah. But I have met him in a different circumstance. I can tell that whenever you want. But I've met Jack White in like a intimate setting.
Well, the whole point of this podcast, the whole goal of this show is to meet him likely virtually in a awkward Zoom conversation. So, what is your intimate setting, Jack White tale?
So I don't even know if I told you this. I feel like I don't talk about it a ton because I told Matt the other day, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." On Halloween. The Halloween after the movie It Might Get Loud. Is that what it's called? I host a show that uses that phraseology. So I'm so convoluted between the two. After that came out, this luthier in Seattle, who I guess Jack White is friends with, was opening a guitar shop. And They did They Might Get Loud screening / opening / Jack White. It was billed as a Q&A, I think, but really it was just he's sort of around in this small shop. So I went up to him.
Yep.
I didn't have some great interaction or anything, but I was like, love the White Stripes, love the music. He was just like, thanks, man. I'll say between you and I think he was extremely stoned.
Okay. I like that. I appreciate that.
He'd been in and outside, and it wasn't cigarettes I was smelling. And he felt like more of he was like, oh, thanks, man. And like that's all one of my chief takeaways. So there, I've seen him, Dead Weather, twice with the White Stripes. And I met him briefly at a guitar shop opening in Seattle.
Can I, in regards to It Might Get Loud, when that film came out, it played in Vancouver at the independent theater that used to be on Denman Street.
Oh, yeah.
In the Weird Mall. And so me and a couple friends, I'm like, well, there's a White Stripes Jack White related thing that's available to view or consume in my town. I will go and spend money on it. And it was, I don't want to knock a movie theater, an independent movie theater, because they are a dying breed and they are significant and important. But it was the crappiest movie theater I've ever been to. And we literally nobody went to see this movie or went to this theater. So the guy that took our tickets and when we paid admission took out the cash tray, and we followed him downstairs to the concession to buy snacks. And he continued using that cash tray. And then when the movie started, it was so quiet. We went up to him and said, "Can you turn it up? I mean, the movie is called It Might Get Loud." And he's like, "It's as loud as it goes." So we had to move to the front of the theater, closer to the speakers.
To gain speaker proximity. Yeah, man, I've had a lot of situations like this. Castlegar, BC has a particularly poorly kept single screen indie movie theater, but I love it. But I've definitely been in there where it's like, well, this is just like quiet. Like, even like I'm easily triggered at the movies, people whispering, people on their phones, but if people are being polite, I don't mind. And that was a theater where it's like, oh, that mouse is whispering, and it's not the mouse's fault.
Somebody tell that mouse to cram it for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I'm gonna go get Jerry if this guy doesn't keep it down. Or is Tom? No, Tom must be the cat. Tomcat.
Yeah.
Never mind.
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
get Tom. I botched the joke.
Never put that 2 and 2 together, but here we are.
Here we are.
Josh, tell me about your connection with the White Stripes. How to begin? What was your first exposure with the band? What was something that was quite lasting about them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So very easy for me. My best friend still to this day, Derek Swallow. He was much ahead of the curve on music from me, and this was when burning CDs was a thing. So I was a guy who was just sort of into my parents' music, mostly, as lame as that sounds. But they had, my parents were only 17 and 18 years older than me. So they had, it was like The Cure and The Clash and The Damned and this kind of stuff. And then I got to high school and I developed, some sort of pop punky-ish tastes, like, or whatever was on Much Music kind of deal. But then Derek, in the CD burning days, he would buy CDs, give them to me. I would just burn them onto my home computer, plug them into the visualizer there on Winamp, and I would just stare at this visualizer and like listen to music from Derek. And he gave me, it's funny because this is one of my favorite albums, and I still don't know how to say it correctly. The record Distill by them.
Destyle,
right? Destyle of the album. I get okay. Destyle, yes. And he gave me that, and I was off to the races. I thought that it was just one of those that I liked every song, like a no skips immediately. Like, oh, and at that age, my capacity to just listen to one album was insane. I would just, it's like, oh, here's the album I'm listening to for, a week or two. Just crazy. You'd be gaming and just listening to it. And I listened to the style so much. To this day, I could sing every word of that album without question. And I'm about to right now here on the hardest podcast to podcast.
Oh yeah, you're pretty good looking. Yeah, I had a friend that pushed me into getting white blood cells, and it didn't. And I was like, I like a handful of these songs, but something's not drawing me in. It wasn't until for some reason I decided to double down and get the first album, and once I heard of all tracks, Broken Bricks.
That's a great song.
I was like, oh, this is what I'm looking for.
That era of the Stripes captures something that probably connects with young people better than what's on White Blood Cells, which sort of gets refined on Elephant. I prefer White Blood Cells, but I feel like if you're going to be like the rockin' teenager, it makes sense to me that it would be a little more gripping to hear the self-titled.
Just there's something that I'm an easy mark for just loud guitars and yelps and just four on the floor banger rockers and Big Three, Jimmy the Exploder, Broken Bricks. There's so many songs on that album, and just I'm very into.
There's a B-side from that album. Is it called Handsprings? It's a song about playing pinball.
Oh, that's a song about getting jealous of your girl because you're down at playing a pinball machine called Stand By Your Man.
I love that song.
And if there's one thing I know about Josh, he likes playing pinball, and he likes causing a ruckus.
I like both those things, and I love songs about pinball. I like pinball is just so tied to music, and people who like it are often like music nerds, I feel. And yeah, shout out to pinball and Handsprings. I think that's the song.
Well, I can make an executive decision, seeing it as it is my show. When Handsprings is randomly drawn, you will be on that one. You will get a call from me saying it's time to go, because there's a lot of pinball about that one, baby.
Yeah, that one, it feels like I could bring some heat. I want to set up a little amp here, and I'll get my bass, and I'll just play that riff the whole time. You can just talk. I think it's a Rolling Stones song originally.
I don't know, but like it is a badass riff.
Yeah, in the pocket rocker.
But we're talking about a song with a different badass riff, and the song we're talking about this week, it is track 2 off of Elephant. It's one that really just it's a timeless punk banger, and that song is Black Math. As we go into let's dive in to how this song came to fruition. This segment we're calling Some Riffs Now, Baby. Let's build a song.
Oh, I like that.
There you go. We've got some working titles on this show and this early origins of it. Doing my research again, if I have to spend my evenings rewatching and re-listening to old interviews and reading old Jack White and White Stripes interviews from 20 years ago that I read as a high school kid, that isn't exactly work. So I have been having a shitload of fun kind of rediscovering, what the band was doing around this time. And I never clued into it until he said this in an interview, that prior to Elephant, that there was only a small handful of White Stripes songs that actually had guitar solos.
That I wouldn't have put that together, but that totally checks out.
It totally checks out, and he made a couple comments on it. He was speaking with MTV New Zealand in 2003 on the Elephant tour, and Jack says they sort of relaxed the rule. I just sort of felt it was time to give myself a present, and he's noodling and shredding and soloing all over this record.
Well, yeah, that's an old punk thing, right? That it's almost hammy to have a big solo, or maybe you have a couple seconds of breakaway, or you switch the effect or something, but it's not part of the genre. And maybe at that time was maybe even more tied to like 80s hair metal cheese spillover. Yeah. So I could imagine wanting to distance yourself from that. I can't think of a solo I like that he does better than the one on this song, though.
It's of White Stripes songs, it's probably the best,
and it's so simple. It's a very 2-note, 3-note solo. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it's performed with tons of emotion and memorable. But it's not like Stevie Ray Vaughan could play this.
It's simple, and then there's a live version that we'll talk about for the video that's even more like stripped down and basic, and like. As much as I love my hair metal bands or I want to hear Kirk Hammett solo in The Unforgiven, sometimes when it comes to solos, less is
more. Not a Metallica thing? I don't know any. I know zero about Metallica. Purposefully. Everything I hear about these guys is annoying. So I don't know. I was pissed at them for the whole Naps. I don't know anything about Metallica. I haven't even seen the documentary, and I love music documentaries. Don't know anything about Metallica.
Okay, well, here's the thing I know about Metallica. In 2003, they had a strict no solos rule for their the Stanger album.
Okay.
And then here's Jack, same year, going, let's get the solos back. So it's
You're
like two
thinking
ships
maybe
passing.
Lars got on the horn, said, Jack, there's one less band doing solos, and Jack said, okay, well, I'll fill the void for you guys until you bring it back.
And they've been good friends ever since.
All right, well, there you go.
That is one of the stranger, also more like Ryan pilled friendships in rock. Is Jack and Lars Ulrich are good buddies.
That does rule. And also in that vein, Handsprings is not the song by Jack White that you need to have me back on for. It's Leak Mine Arsch with ICP, because that's another Detroit Jack White relationship that is mind-blowing to me. That Violent J gets a Christmas card every year from Jack White.
Mozart,
dope for the most part. Unbelievable bars. Mozart, dope for the most part.
God, I mean, what's wrong? He's everything you need in a rhyme and a hook is it's right out there in the open. He hits it. He hits it out of the park.
I like thinking of that though, because Jack seems so principled, and so like he might be kind of a tough nut to crack, but we can both think of sort of interesting or could be challenging relationships and friendships that he holds.
I think as I was going back and doing my research, like, you know, Josh, you and I are big fans of the one true sport, professional wrestling, and we love a good gimmick, and we love our wrestlers that live the gimmick. And I really think that around this time, leading into this kind of mysterious album, Jack was really living the gimmick, and he's seemingly like before Elephant and after Get Behind Me, Satan, he was still a pretty, you know, just a reasonably hardworking, normal guy who liked cool things from Detroit. But around this time, he was he had some quirks.
Yeah, he becomes Jack White 3. He becomes red, white, black. This is where the ethos of, you know, I would put my keyboard at the furthest distance away possible and still make it in time. And the whole thing about, well, I set very hard rules for myself so I can only break them in certain instances. You're absolutely right. He is, and I feel like he's pretty far away from that at this point. But it is, I sort of admire, I think it's a cool thing about art. You can be like, well, actually I can just do this my way. I get to be the boss here. Like day in, day out. What do they call the job that he was where you're making couches and whatnot?
An upholsterer.
Yeah, an upholsterer. I had it right. Thanks, Ryan. Like you're an upholsterer. He's got a dickhead boss. He's got asshole customers. And he's like, no, I do my thing. I'm wearing red, white, and black. It's two people. We're doing my songs. It's there's power in that.
I've the rules and strict policies and kind of the restrictions he's put in place with the White Stripes, like the very well documented, is probably one of like the most admirable and unique kind of aspects of the band. And it's like, I've talked to a few people now, and it's like the restrictions that you place on yourself in this kind of creative mindset, in this creative realm, like seemingly everybody responds positively to that. And I think until he outlined that, and until he kind of provided and created and outlined that roadmap to how to be creative, I never really thought of it like that. And I don't think if any other artists or prominent musicians were kind of saying it like that. Frankly, I always kind of feels like they were saying the opposite.
Exhibit A, the Black Keys suck. Couple more rules, fellas. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate ethos, and I think that just whether your parameters when you're early in your career are often cost, what you have access to. I think a lot of us, if you think of your favorite bands, their early records or maybe their second three, you might have had you might respond to it the most because they're in a similar point in life as you are there. They're not in the silk sheets yet. And so it's easy to see how it happens, but I think you can build parameters that can help you stretch that even once you are rich and, it's hard to get out of bed to go run the mile, so to speak.
I love that. And when we're diving into this song, they're at this time, like this album was recorded not very long after White Blood Cells. It was on the shelf for about a year, and we made a joke about, Napster and all that. Like, this is an album that was available online quite early on before it came out. So I never would think that Jack White had a problem with shaking off the silk sheets and remember where he came from. But at the time of this song and in this era, he's still hustling. He's still, I'm sure he's still helping load vans or whatnot. And he's like, it still resonates. It's still very, earnest and genuine and hardworking.
Yeah. When he's writing this song, Seven Nation Army hasn't hit yet.
That's right. And Seven Nation Army was, when this song is written, Seven Nation Army was just a strange song that former roommate and drummer of the Soledad Brothers, Ben Swank, kind of went to him and said, I don't know if you got anything there. So, yeah, he was right on that one.
That must have been the same guy who told the Black Keys, you guys are any good.
I had a
I'm the
lot. I had
same
a lot
guy.
of problems with the Black Keys.
I hate those guys, man.
Just much as it's just mainly due to being such a White Stripes defender. White Stripes, Black Keys, guitar and drums, but then they bring all these touring musicians out there. Like, what's? I
Well,
thought
then
we
you
had
listen to the
rules.
songs and you're like, what the hell's going on here, for Christ's sake?
He's singing about a submarine. How rich is this guy? He's got his
Well,
own.
that song
submarine?
in particular is just like, you've heard the White Stripes, right? Anyway.
Well, we're talking.
And the one fella in that band seems so annoying too. Like,
Well,
I'm
Jack
to
was-
speak in my duo, the Sword and Shield with the Zoobs, I'm the annoying one. So I'm not here to judge, but he does seem annoying.
You're not wrong. The proof
man's
is in the
opinion.
pudding. The evidence is laid out right in front of us. We're talking about Black Math this week. And this was I consumed a lot of White Stripes. This has been my favorite band for a very long time. I might be the first to admit that I'm not the biggest lyric memorizer, maybe even the lyric reader, and I have listened to this song hundreds of times. And listening to this just absolute ass kicking boot stomper, I never really put into ever like looked at the lyrics and kind of put the song into context. And it's, and we have these tools now, and you can ask ChatGPT, what's Black Math about? And
Well, and it's going to be wrong, though, is the thing.
well, it's wrong because it said Black Math is like a witchcraft, but with addition and subtraction.
ya.
And I'm like, great. Back.
I'll
to
tell you what,
square
I'm
one.
righter than ChatGPT. I said, hey, I bet it's wrong, and I was right.
But it starts to tell you some themes, and I'm like, I never really thought of it that way. You go and listen to the song, and like I was just blown away. Like the last verse in the song, listen, master, can you answer a question? Is it the fingers or the brain that you're teaching a lesson? I can't tell you how proud I am. I'm writing down things I don't understand. I was immediately transported to grade 10 math, the hardest class I've ever taken. I had a half-assed, lazy, miserable math teacher that wrote left-handed, and he used an overhead projector, and he would write and write and write, and his hand would cover all the notes, and he wouldn't explain a thing. And
This is horrible. Just the hand placement on the projector, that should disqualify you from being a teacher.
This day one.
Hey, here's the info, kids. Gotcha.
You talk about black math, the whole damn overhead
Yeah, the
projector
damn
was
shadow.
covered. But I just remember, I was listening to this song a couple days ago, and I was just transported, like writing down things I don't understand. And I remember the teacher blasts through all the how to do this, like, and Math 10 is one of the more difficult high school courses in all the years. Like it either tells you you're going to be taking the weirdo math or you're done with it. And I just remember the whole I'm like, I was sitting there going, am I this dumb? Like, do I not get this? Like, am I going down am I going into the special assistance programs from this? And the teacher goes, all right, does anybody have any questions? And it was Adrian Peters, a few desks over, goes, yeah, can you repeat and redo everything you just did? And I'm like,
Adrian.
thank God.
He's taking the bullet. He's jumping on the grenade for everyone.
Hey, to Adrian Peters, my kind of guy. Looking at these lyrics, looking at the themes, what jumps out to you about this song? Like, what place does this song take you to?
Okay, so first of all, I want to make abundantly clear, Math 10, total cinch for me. I just breezed right on through. They say, hey, arithmetic. Boom, boom, boom. They set them up. I knock them down. That was me in Math 10. No, I totally relate to what you're saying, that it's this, there is like, it was the same at my school. That's like a fork in the road. Are you done with the thing? Or anyway, you said it, but yeah, I respond to it in the same way. And yeah, I spent a lot of time on that website. I had a nothing office job in 2009, 10. And the three websites I would look at was I'd look at Pitchfork every day. and read whatever their reviews were. And I'd go to the AV Club. Do you remember the AV Club, Ryan?
Of course.
Read the AV
They love
Club
Jack
every day.
White on the AV Club.
Oh, tons of Jack White coverage on the AV Club. No doubt about it. And somebody told me the AV Club's coming back. Did that happen? Is this one of these things where it's like, oh, there's a new season of Clone High, and I find out like 2 years after it happens? Like, what?
I couldn't finish it.
It's always, I actually liked the Clone High, but not here to talk about that. But this is all to say that Black Math is a nice critique. The third site I should say is songmeanings.com. I'd spend a lot of time on.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly the Stripes would be the albums that I would look on there. And I don't think it makes sense to me, and I don't mean this as an insult at all, but it totally checks out that you're saying I'm not the biggest lyric guy and the White Stripes is your favorite band, because I don't view Jack White as, I actually think this song would be one of the stronger lyrical performances that you can actually sort of point an arrow at, and here's what he's trying to say. I think often he's like he's definitely like a writes the riff first guy. Some of my favorite songwriters are the opposite, where you can tell like writing music, but that's neither here nor there. This song actually is maybe one of the more pointed. He'll do broad stroke, rich guy, bad stuff, but this is very pointedly, I feel like, informing you about his educational experience. And this, is this stuff worth doing? Who's examining this? It's very real to my schooling experience. But that said, shout out to the teachers who have the worst job on earth. It's not the teachers' fault. They're sent in there with a bunch of rapscallion, 100 of them in a room. There's no good way to do it. And now they all got phones. I can't even imagine. But I do think that like it's a nice lyrical work by Jack White, which is not, I don't think he has a ton of those. Carolina Drama, another one, I suppose. But maybe that's Brendan. Who knows?
I think if songs like that Raconteurs track is a song, it feels like the lyrics were written first, or he had a bit of a melody and like I'm gonna sing a song, I'm gonna come up with a motion picture in my head and I'm gonna narrate it. But it felt like he has songs where the lyrics are much more poignant, and you can tell they've got songs like Screwdriver or things like that. That's just I'm writing about what I'm seeing. If I'm a Beatle, I'm skewing towards Paul. Here's what's happening, and it might fit the music, it might not, but it all works at the end because that's what makes this band so special.
Well, you can't have rules about stuff either, because I actually like very straightforward lyrics sometimes. Like a song like We're Gonna Be Friends to me is a nice lyrical work that you're just actually saying it. I like James Murphy from LCD Sound System's lyrics a lot, because it's very plain speak. You're not wondering what is, we're taught in school. It's like, oh, well, drip everything in metaphor, and you want to seem poetic or hard to read, maybe mysterious. Yeah. And I can appreciate stuff that is laid more bare, I suppose, as well. So something, I don't think this song falls into that necessarily, but I can go either way on it. That's all I'm trying to say.
Well, when you have a song that is simple enough to comprehend, and you're not looking for hidden meanings, like it like you can connect to it. You can connect to that experience what the songwriter is talking about, and you can remember experiences that you've gone through, and then it evokes those own emotions, and then some basic lyric about like holding hands or skipping school and we are going to be friends takes on this whole absolute meaning for you. So he doesn't have to make something complicated or dripping in metaphor, because the general experiences that you go through are going to tell that story and just make it connect to you more than bullshit writing ever would.
I think both can work. Like I think somebody
no
like
question.
Yeah, Nick Cave or Isaac Brock can also. You sort of figure it out, or you see callbacks within songs, and that can be rewarding in its own right. But
yeah,
you don't need to. And when there can be sort of some elitism, I think, around that sometimes.
Yeah, and like as we get into the next segment, like this is a song that tells a very easy to understand story. We've all been frustrated with, whether somebody that's telling us what to do or having challenges, learning or being in school or not being as smart as the person beside you, and kind of having that disconnect with your teacher or your superior. So like in an earlier episode, we were doing "I'm Lonely, but I Ain't That Lonely Yet" with Charlie Kerr, and I kind of slept on those lyrics, and just listening to them back, and like, it just becomes so much more poignant. And like, we're gonna have some songs, White Stripes songs, that doesn't happen to me, but this is one where I'm like, I finally took time to study the lyrics and kind of think about them and place myself in those shoes. Like, I love Black Math. Like, Black Math is one of my top tier White Stripes songs, but just kind of understanding the story and the message, like, it kind of blew my mind when I kind of related to it as easily as I did.
Well, I think that's what's fun about interpreting art and reinterpreting it. It's why listening to albums is still fun to some degree, or, you're revisiting an old movie, or even by extension, watching an old wrestling match or replaying a video game. You can, like, you will probably, after examining the lyrics of Black Math and unlocking it in this way for you, never hear it the same way again. And this is something, by your own testament, you've heard hundreds of times. And non-artistic endeavors don't create products that do that. And it's why this shit's very worth doing. And I talk with our friend Bobby Burritos about this all the time, but it's why good criticism is worthwhile, because people that are measuring this and keeping track and holding account can also engage with this stuff that might be asking more of the viewer or listener, or, peel back another layer of the onion, asking more of them. So very cool.
I love that. Again, I had never really put White Blood Cells up with Elephant, like, look and compared them. I thought they were very different records, but I never put that thought into it. I had songs I liked off them.
We had very different groups of friends. My friends were all about lists and ranking stuff. Oh yeah, wait, this better than that. Rank the White Stripes albums is something I've done probably 500 times in my life. Only beaten by rank the Metal Gear Solid games.
We could do a bonus show about ranking our albums, and I think our 1 to 6 would be so vastly different. We might have the same number too, but it's shockingly. We could have two. If you do favorite and if you do best, my lists are completely different. But I'd never thought about the contrast between the two albums. And then Meg was saying, or Jack was saying, the last record, White Blood Cells, they purposely said no guitar solos, no slide guitar, no covers, and then the reporter said no bass ? And I was always taking a gas, like, the White Stripes and bass are oil and water. Why would they ever meet? Like, that's the last thing they need. And then Meg, clear as day, breaking kayfabe, exposing the business in 2003, goes, the last record had no bass. This one, Elephant, has some bass. We're not against bass.
It also depends. Okay. Bass guitar does not mean you don't have, like, they cheat it. His guitar he tunes it to bass sounds all the time. Seven Nation Army probably is the most famous example of this. So the idea that it's, he's avoiding it or hates it, I think, again, probably steered into the gimmick very strong, and some of the fan base ran with it. But yeah, no surprise to me that Meg was probably trying to douse a little water, throw a little water on the flames. People there, it's like, yeah, if you hear a bass guitar on our records, you can relax. It's gonna be okay.
If you hear it, if you think you hear it, you hear it. Let's not make a big thing into this.
Yeah.
Speaking of making big things out of something, let's dive into the song's legacy. This is a little segment we call Little Room, Big Impact. What do you think of that title?
Now you're in the little room. Oh man, that's a fun one. I love that Letterman performance. Fell in love with the girl into Little Room and out. That's a killer one.
With the triple tremolo spinning in the background and the taxidermy. Oh,
great stuff. And you've got that pillow behind you. Look at that.
So my sister gave me this pillow for Christmas this past year because many years ago, White Stripes were still a band. She said she was going to make me a peppermint pillow. And she got the white and the red fabric, and she basically made it the dumbest way possible.
Okay.
Where she would make a white section and then a red section and then sew them together, instead of, and like, it was like the biggest botched Christmas gift attempt or arts and crafts attempt ever. And it was like a long standing like joke in our family.
Right. Okay. I see.
So for this past Christmas, she'd found this. It was just on the Indigo website, but like, the perfect gift doesn't need to come from some strange place. Like the perfect
the
gift
callback is amazing there. How thoughtful of Amanda.
Yeah, I love it. And it was right out in the open. And when I opened it, I'm like, I had like some special Christmas gifts this year, but like I was clutching the big white stripes ball. I'm like, this is amazing. So
let's not give her too much credit though, Ryan, because you're like me. Let's face it. You're a guy who's easy to buy gifts for. You know? You are, yeah. And I am too. People know what to buy me. It's like he has such defined interests. It's you know what realm to take to get the good pop. Some people aren't like that. You're trying to buy a gift for some people. It's like, well, what do you like? And they're like, experiences.
I like going on a hike. Lie? Do you need some shoes? No.
No. What thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I got 4 things that if you buy me one from that category, chances are I'm gonna. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of them is this band.
That's right. That's exactly right. So you know what? Not that nice to your sister. I take it back. Easy pop.
Easy. So this is the Little Room Big Impact. You mentioned this has come up in all of our discussions so far. I did not read Pitchfork. I knew about it. I knew that they were quite snooty and pretentious, and that's fine. Yeah, I would read Rolling Stone. I would go NME or Spin. I'd go other places. I knew what Pitchfork was, but I had no idea what they were. They gave the strangest review I've ever seen, maybe ever, for this album, for Elephant.
Let's hear it. I presume that's what we're doing here.
I need to preface, like, I'm going and I'm getting all these old reviews because I want, like, there's a part of this review that is specific to the song we're doing this week, which is Black Math. But I opened this link and I thought that somebody had hacked the copy or the review many years ago, and it like nobody noticed it, and like people forgot. This is the first paragraph of Pitchfork's review for Elephant.
I'm excited to hear this.
And I quote, Church's Fried Chicken now sits at the crossroads of Highway 49 and Highway 61 in Clarksdale, Mississippi, like an unaware prefabricated neon mausoleum. While you can no longer barter your soul to Beelzebub for guitar picking prowess, the man will gladly exchange your eternal being for a place on the Friar and a hairnet. Or one may just opt for the sweet biscuit crunchers and some purple pepper sauce for $1. The tragicomic irony of a fast food joint squatting on the Valhalla of Delta blues out-tarnishes our collective lore more than the bus stop of Jethel's Mame and adjoining Mount of Olives Hotel. And when you toss one of those sugary sweet biscuit crunchers or gooey honey butter biscuits into your fat maw, you can let your mind drift to the thinly veiled sexual euphemisms of the blues, where biscuit almost certainly means vagina.
Okay, so while I don't agree with this reviewer, I actually love this review. I think that I see what they're going for. I think this is well written. If you think that Jack White is ripping off the blues, doing a take of commercialization of going down to where the devil teaches you to play the blues and putting up a church is there, I find no agreement with them. I think that's a funny piece of writing.
Going back and looking at these old reviews and like a famous interview with our beloved Canadian hero Nardwuar.
Yeah, the man.
Jack was terrified to play the blues, being a white kid from Detroit. He looked at all of the
gimmicks. Got over that fear, didn't he?
Well, he said, I can get away with it with having a unique band with this strange gimmick and a goofy persona, I might be able to distract them well enough that they don't know I'm playing the blues. So this was one of his biggest early fears coming to fruition, coming to reality. When Elephant turned 20, he posted this review on his Instagram and was basically like, You could tell he was still quite sour about it 20 years later, and
He remembered it.
You bastards. Pitchfork
That's probably
gave,
a funny Instagram comment section, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Pitchfork gave the album a 6.9, nice review, and then they said this about Black Math. On tracks like Black Math and Little Acorns, the grease and grunge of cheap guitar ingredients cover slim pickings from the songwriting chicken. People who just want some fried poultry can drive through and get a quick fix. But underneath, the spirits of the heroes wait for a true seance.
Well, I mean, it's just so funny to think about. It's a funny approach to music. It's very elite because they're not, again, if that's the angle you want to take, they're not saying anything wrong. He is using a cheap guitar. There isn't a ton else there beyond the drums and the lead guitar, and even the drums are bare. So it depends on your view of it. I just feel like this is a little... I would like to talk to that author now. I wonder how they feel about this. There was this great thing they did at the Big Lebowski's 25th anniversary is they went back to these reviewers who hated it, and to the person, they all loved it now. Every single one of them was like, I just got it wrong. And I was understandable. It's a hard movie to get on the first try, but to some degree.
First try, yeah.
But I think of that here because this is such a takedown of it. And now I imagine in 2025, in a world where forget about ripping off the blues, there's basically no bands or guitar music. It's like, well, maybe they would be like, well, at least there's a flag bearer out there with an instrument, I suppose.
Yeah. But in 2003, they could be, no.
Yeah, being snarky online and like being a smart critic was also like such a big part of things back then too. This guy's just doing his job.
Yeah, they were just doing what they had to do for the business.
That said, I got blocked by Mike Usinger of the province when he reviewed my record poorly. So I'm not here to talk about pettiness. I must have sent them 20 tweets in a day. And there were threats.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, I tell the story on Block Party, I think, because I think it was my first block tale.
I love that. That's incredible.
It was a bad album though. He was right. You know.
Rolling Stone loved the album. They gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And then I wrote in my notes here a little nod to our One True Love. It would have been 6.25 if the album was in the Tokyo Dome. Rolling Stone said this about Elephant and Black Math. On Elephant, Jack White writes and sings with the same depth and viscera, exceeding the plantation holler of 2000's Distill and 2001's White Blood Cells, with blues that both pop and bleed. Black Math and Girl You Have No Faith in Medicine shake with equal measures of Lightning Hopkins, crude strum.
Those are the rockers on the album, right? Just off the top of my head?
I'd say so, yes. Mark Bolan's sequin boogie and the cut and thrust song hooks of the Buzzcocks. In Black Math, Jack actually wrenches his voice into the Hobbit-like bark of 1971 Mark Bolan. And this song has stayed the test of time. When Jack White became a solo artist or a solo performer in 2012, Black Math was one of the songs that was reworked, and whether it had pedal steel or slide guitar or whatever kind of country element it had, it was one of the key songs in the set list, and it's remained. And as Jack White has kind of gone from a Grand Ole Opry megastar band into his boarding house Reach era kind of whatever that is, he's basically got a stripped down punk rock outfit that they drive to their own gigs now. He's got a keyboard player and a bass player and a drummer. Like Black Math is there. It's a song that he holds near and dear to his heart. It represents his punk rock roots, and it features childhood themes, which is what a lot of the White Stripes lore and kind of gimmick is about. And yeah, he's still performing it live. He performed it at a Bernie Sanders rally a couple years ago at his old high school, Cass Tech in Detroit. And I can't think of a better song in a better environment for a better cause than than that right there.
A couple things there. I love that he does this with the more punk rock version of his lineup. And I really love the Buzzcocks comparison that Ryder made specifically to not really the White Stripes in general, but specific to Black Math, the song. Mm-hmm. That sort of straightforward, uncomplicated, it rocks, but it's not like screaming at you. The solo is screaming at you, but it's just I like that comparison a lot. That stood out to me as sort of abundantly true once it was said. And it's not surprising to me, to be honest, that he keeps it around in his back pocket. I imagine if you're feeling a dip in energy and you're a guy who doesn't use set lists, this is one that when he's going through the song Rolodex, I bet he goes, oh, we can get the people up with this one. I'm sure. And he can.
And it absolutely works. And since we're talking about performing it live, we don't have a working title for this segment yet, but it's we're talking about Black Math's live performance history. And
I've got a name for the segment.
Let's hear it.
Live performance history, LPH.
God damn. You guys,
just off the dome.
Right off the dome. This is LPH.
Tell them they don't believe you. You didn't give me any notice on naming the segment or anything. Yeah, they don't believe me. I guarantee they're listening. It's like bullshit.
It's just like the Thin Dogs last night.
He just appears out of nowhere. Brian didn't smart me up. I made that up.
Black Math could randomly appear out of nowhere. It was primarily a song that would appear early in the set. It was a song like Dead Leaves, like Blue Orchid, like When I Hear My Name. Black Math, I believe we had both seen the White Stripes perform when they performed Black Math as the first song. It's an air quotes easy song to play, but it's just like it's an energy track. It's recognizable. It's fast. It gets you going. So it would regularly be one of the first 3-4 songs of the set list, or it would be one of the last songs before the encore. So, while they didn't have a set list, Jack kind of knew there would be where it's gonna work. They also played this song fast, which I love.
I actually prefer the live version. When I was listening to it in prep for the show, I listened to it a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
It was slower than I think of it in my brain. It's sort of, I just think that I'm bound to react now. And in my mind, it's like way more. I was surprised. So yeah, I'm not surprised to hear the live version. I think when I think of it, I'm probably thinking of how they play it live.
Yeah, and like the live, when they play it live, it's about 20 seconds faster as a song.
And it's a short song too. So 20 seconds off a short song is no joke.
Yeah, they lay it in. I am a sucker for I may be the minority, but I absolutely love live albums. And I love live albums because I want songs to be just a little bit faster.
I'm with you on the live album front.
I'm completely off the rails, but like I truly love watching Kiss perform in the mid to late 80s because they were trying to stay relevant. They would try to stay relevant. For the audio listeners, Josh is mimicking the act of all three of Gene, Paul, and Ace doing their signature guitar swaying and hip moving, and that's what rock and roll is.
You're gonna want to pay for the video episode of this, folks.
In that era, they were trying everything they could to stay relevant, and they're like, the trend was playing songs so damn fast because they were like metal adjacent. So if you watch them in like 1986 play Detroit Rock City, it is the fastest song you've ever heard.
Probably way better for it.
It kicks ass. Yeah. So to hear Black Math just...
I would have loved to have seen Kiss in my life. I like Kiss. Well, I mean, like, I like Kiss, in that
There's
way.
a time and a place for Kiss.
Yeah. Every Portuguese uncle thinks they're like the greatest rock band who's ever lived, and that's a little concerning. They came to America, and it's like, Kiss? But I'm telling you, my uncles, they love Kiss.
I went and saw Kiss with my old man like 15, 16 years ago. It was fine. It was good. I like it. I Kiss is a great band, but they suck. And if you... there's a time and a place for Kiss, and they have like 4 good things about them and many terrible things about them.
Namely Gene Simmons.
That's correct. Back to Black Math Live. This song had the White Stripes. They had about 600 performances tracked on setlist.fm, everybody's favorite website. Black Math was played 215 times, and a key staple of, like you said, going through the Rolodex, what's going to get them going. I also think that, like, no song is simple, but if you're having a bit of a challenging show or if you're just not connecting, I feel like this is a song that could kind of, the drums and the guitar and the vocals are all quite, not like they're all in sync. Like, it's something that you could kind of get back on the rails together by playing this song.
Yeah, makes total sense to me.
215 times live. It was played on the first night of the Elephant Tour in Wolverhampton, England on April 7th, 2003. And the last time it was played by the White Stripes was at the House of Blues in North Myrtle Beach in South Carolina, where on the Icky Thump Tour, after doing the Insane Cross Canada Tour, they went and had to make the money and make that tour make sense financially. So they were playing Madison Square Garden. They were playing the Sheds. And then finally, they're like, "Well, we want to tour the South," and where so much influence for the band was. So, I think it's either their last show ever, or one of them. Black Math was performed there. So
this is so fun to
left.
hear. This is a great history lesson for me. This is fun.
Well, I'm doing what I can. I'll tell you one thing. This segment does have a working title, but we're keeping it. Because it's time to talk about the music video, and it's time to get behind the camera, Satan. Let's talk about that music video. There is a music video for this for this song. It was released. I had a CDR with White Stripes videos on it, and this was like ripped from MTV2, and I watched the ever-loving crap out of it. It was the director, Anthony Ernest Garth, bled all of the color out of the video, with the exception of red, of course. I don't know if you had a Canon like point and shoot camera in the mid to late 2000s.
I did.
But and they had the setting where you could remove all the color except the red. And I was like, well, that's, I don't know, the protector in me was like, that's ripping off the White Stripes, god damn it.
Canon, how could you?
Bastards. Good lenses. Hell of a printer too. I've had the same one.
I hate the lenses.
Yeah.
Unless you get them as a sponsor, in which case Canon, the second best Canon there is.
That's a White Stripes joke right there. Maybe I'll have you on for Canon too. Have you watched this video recently?
Yeah, watched it in preparation for this. Actually, don't remember it. Don't remember this video.
Really?
Was it on Much Music? I could name the White Stripes videos I remember. There aren't that many of them. Or that on from Much Music. I've watched, YouTube in the future.
Yeah.
But Fell in Love with a Girl, Dead Leaves in the Dirty Ground, Hotel Yorba, Denial Twist, Blue Orchid, Icky Thump. I think those are the only videos I can really recall.
They had videos that got the Fell in Love with a Girl, Seven Nation Army, Hardest Button to Button, Icky Thump were regular. That one too. And Blue Orchid were like regular main eventers, but they had I'm coining this term now, the MTV2 videos, which, I don't know what they would call it, like whatever the US equivalent of Going Coastal or indie, so they there was a video.
Going Coastal seems small though. I had a music video on that program. That's this mug has been on Going Coastal. I
loved Going Coastal, and
it wasn't an episode hosted by Nardwuar though.
There wasn't?
No, where mine was on, it wasn't. If there was a clip of Nardwuar throwing to my video, it would be the only thing anyone ever heard about. I would never stop talking about it.
That's absolutely correct. And I would be in the exact same shoes as you.
Hannah Song, I believe. Credit to her,
though. So the MTV2 videos would be like Dead Leaves, We Are Gonna Be Friends, Hotel Yorba, Black Math. There's a very controversial Music video for I Just Don't Know What to Do With Myself, and I'm so excited to talk about that one.
I didn't know this.
Oh, it's strange as hell, and it is
Cool.
a very cool part of White Stripes lore. But we're talking about Black Math right now. First thing I love about this, it has in WWE in New York they call it the champion entrance. It's also the Goldberg entrance, but those having. Yeah, Jack's banging his head on the door, concussing himself.
Oh,
Nothing gets me more fired up than watching a performer of whatever capacity, like walking to the arena.
Yeah, it rocks.
And they are walking and they look cool as hell. And they're like, they know what they're doing. They get on stage. The fact that 2 videos were locked off on tripods, I'm like, okay, there was not a budget here. There was, we're doing this as cheap as possible.
Camera effect is most of the video.
Yeah.
There's really not that much to say about this. I feel like it's kind of a shitty video. Am I allowed to say that?
It's an unremarkable video in terms of capturing a live band. I think I watched it going, White Stripes concerts are like the craziest thing in the world. Like, as long as I can remember and still do, like nothing gets me more excited about a concert than like a sweaty, loud, packed room. Like we're gonna see Jack White at the Commodore. I want it loud. I want it sweaty. I want to leave there. Like I left it all out there. So I've always loved that. And like this video was an infomercial for like, this is a crazy band. They're gonna rock your ass off.
I feel. Do you know which Japan Droid song does this? The like concert footage spliced with live footage. Is it House That Heaven Built?
Or Night of Wine and Roses. One of those two.
One of them. They have a song that does this. I think maybe I just don't like it as a trope. It feels kind of called into me. It doesn't really feel like a music video. Like you say, it plays. I don't know. It's like a highlight or a commercial. I don't know. I didn't really respond to this. Especially since I'm the world's biggest Conan O'Brien mark. I love the Dial Twist video is amazing. The Fell in Love with a Girl one is, Michelle Gondry's an important person and, lent his art to one of their cans of whoop ass songs. I just felt like this one wasn't giving me a ton.
There's not much to it. Again, it's just, hey, I got to see this band live. Jack White's eating an apple. Like, okay, for years, or I don't know, probably felt like years. It was probably weeks or days. They're like, what is he doing? What's he throwing to the crowd? He's eating an apple, and then he throws the apple into the crowd. Fun fact, that apple actually turned into the Get Behind Me Satan apple that we saw that night at the Orpheum.
Oh, no kidding.
If you can believe that. It
landed in the ground, grew a tree, and ended up on the ceiling.
In roughly 24 months.
Incredible. I don't know how this stuff works. It could work like that for all I know.
So I looked up this I'm just like, I love wormholing for this, and I looked up who the hell is Anthony Ernest Garth.
Yeah, beautiful name.
The guy has the man has 3 first names. First, he has 3 first names, 4 IMDb credits.
Only 4 total?
Yeah.
One of his 4 projects is a White Stripes music video? That's pretty crazy. I respect that. Wow.
No. 3 of his 4 are White Stripes videos.
What the hell? So he's a buddy of Jack White's, I guess.
He did the video for We're Going to Be Friends, which also literally was done with leftover film and time after the Hotel Yorba video.
Yeah. And I think that comes across.
And he did Black Math. And then his other role was he did location management for the 1998 film Slums of Beverly Hills. Well,
say what you want about the man. They're who we called when they didn't want to pay somebody to make a music video. That's old Anthony Ernest's lot in life in my mind.
Did you ever see that movie Slums of Beverly Hills?
Can't say I did.
It was a staple coming of age film for my sister and I growing up.
Okay. Another Jack White tie-in for Ryan Schaap.
Yeah, I was taken back. Natasha Lyonne, who was in American Pie. She's in it, and it's about this coming of age tale of a girl with dysfunctional home life, and she's trying to get a breast reduction and all this stuff. And it's oddly good film. Kevin Corrigan is the love interest.
Well, hang on. So maybe our man Anthony Herman was onto something. Maybe this guy designed the sets and informed the performances from the ground up. Maybe I wrote him off too soon. Could this guy be sort of a sleeper Hollywood great? I'm open to the idea.
Yeah, he locked down the cheap apartment building parking lot where they shot some of the movie, and then he knew Jack White, and he said, "I'll do it for less, baby."
Yeah. He promised them he could get him a White Stripes song in the movie, and then reneged on it. It's like, you know how it goes.
Oh, man. Well, Josh, that about wraps it up for Black Math.
Cool. Can I say a couple other thoughts I have on the song just to get him out at the end?
I would love to hear him.
I feel like No Name probably satiates this Jack White that I crave most of any of his projects in a very long time, probably since Elephant. Get behind me saying, well, Icky Thump has some rockers on it, I suppose.
Yep.
But not really not really in the same way. And I would like to hear his take on more music like this. He puts out like when he does like one-offs for Third Man, I feel like they often are short, punky. He gets this side out of them. But if he's going to do genre albums or mood albums or whatever you want to call them, I'd love to see him attack a 10-song extension of the Black Math ethos. I'd really like that.
And he's good at it because, you know, they are his kind of, you know, his roots. But like his punky songs, there's just something that really works well about them. With, you know, I think of Broken Bricks. I think of Bone Broke. I think of Let's Build a Home. Like just really good, simple songs that just
hypnotize.
Yeah, they just kick ass, but they're not. I don't know. Like we've all heard punk songs, and they all sound like other punk songs, or they just like you heard one no knock against no effects, but
okay, hang on a second. Let's end this on a good note. Hang on.
Fine. You heard one Descendants song. You've heard them all. Is that better?
I like the Defendant, but I'm not gonna. All no effects songs sound the same. Is crazy.
No, they don't. But like, and that was a bad choice, and I got to leave this in, and I got to eat this.
No, you can. It's your show forever. You know. You could edit me in being like, No Effects is the greatest band of all time, and then I look like an
idiot. His simple songs don't feel simple. I
think
that's Jack White's magic, and that's why I would also love, you know, No Name has that. I'd love to hear something, you know, from that Black Math ethos that is quite stripped down, and I just think that he shines in forums like that.
Good energy guy.
Yeah. I also want to say, you know, we're going to be profiling each week our march to our goal, which is having the third man himself come on here and talk about a song, which I imagine he will not want to do, which is why it's a good goal, but a lofty goal. I had heard something like, you know, when you hear something and you just like assume it's true because you remember it from like 20 years ago.
Yeah, sure.
And I was like, oh, I've got a fun anecdote about Black Math. And I'm like, I wonder if it's true.
Uh-oh.
And so I DM'd like the White Stripes historian and kind of like record keeper and occasional drummer for Jack White is this guy, Ben Blackwell. He works at Third Man Records. And I DM'd him and I'm just like, hi, here's what I'm doing. I just have an unusual question about Black Math, and I don't want to be the misinformation White Stripes guy. And he's like, okay, go ahead. And I ask him, he's like, that never happened. And I go, okay.
Well, what was the story?
I had remember hearing on a forum many years ago, like pre-Reddit, that like Jack jammed with Dave Grohl and they played Black Math, and it made no sense. And it was like basically it only worked with Meg as the drummer. And it was like
that could be true or false, but that's real. Like if that happened, that's what would happen. Dave Grohl falling all over the toms all over the song would not make it better at all. I need
So,
react now.
Can we get those toms? Can we get them off?
Yeah, come on.
can we get a punk rock kit? Just a snare and a hi-hat and then a kick. So Mr. Ben Blackwell said, no, that never happened.
Thanks,
and I'm
Ben.
so glad I reached out to him. And Josh, I'm so glad that you were a very early guest on this project. I'm so excited to see Jack White together.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about all of the creative endeavors that we've got going on together. They are very near and dear to my heart.
Me too, dude. Congratulations on starting a new show. I am equally pleased to have been here. Honored even. Love talking to little Jack White. Happy to come back anytime.
I feel like you'll be back for Handsprings. I run this show, so I can just say Josh will be back for Handsprings.
I'm serious. I want the Insane Clown Posse Jack White Lick Mine Arsh song.
If that Patreon gets going, that's where they can get it.
Lick mine arsh all through the night. Mozart, dope for the most part. Respected. Jack White's just riffing behind. Anyway.
Just go. Yeah, just giving her. But until Handsprings or until the ICP Jack White Patreon crossover, the people listening, the people consuming this episode, learning more about black math, appreciating black math more because of you and I, they've obviously fallen in love with what you bring to the table. If they don't want to wait till Handsprings, how can these people find you, hear you, and listen to what you have to say?
I'm easy to find. Follow my Blue Sky, J0SHC. I talk about all the Wrestling Brain and Patreon stuff there, but the real plug I want to do here is if you're hearing this and you enjoyed this, doing these shows is harder than it looks, especially with the amount of research Ryan puts into these, production. If you like this, make sure you signal that you like it to Ryan because it motivates him to keep going. Like it on Spotify, share it with your friends, do all those. What does it bother you, Give a little share for all Ryan. He's trying to get something off the ground here. It's brave to start something new, and it takes so little. Leave a review, Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. I know I'll be doing it. Not before me. I want the numbers to pop for my episode, but the moment mine comes out, going to put a nice 5-star rating on there and support the hardest podcast to podcast.
And if you are even the slightest sliver of a fan of professional wrestling, nobody covers the one true sport like our man J0 here over at twitch.tv/wrestlingbrain or patreon.com/J0SHC. Truly, I not to say that you could sell a ketchup. You could sell, I don't know, what's the non-problematic sales term?
Could
you
sell
just
tomato to an Italian, maybe.
Yeah, I love that. You outline and explain and talk about wrestling in a way that is so unique and translates so well to even the most fair weather or half-assed or unenthused fan. It's beyond captivating. So if you've ever been a fan of professional wrestling, check it out. I'm also there sometimes too. And
Wednesday, baby.
And that's Wednesday. And this podcast will come out on Tuesdays. You know why, Josh?
Death to Tuesday. You're helping ease the pain of Tuesdays.
It's also the third day of the week.
Well, hang on. This is the discussion. You can't just drop something like this at the end. Is it?
I mean, I had a in-bed pillow talk last night with my lovely wife.
Love him, man.
Was saying that Wednesday was the third day of the week. And I said,
I feel the same as Amanda, but also know there's no right and wrong here. If you go do this at home right now, pick up your phone. You're addicted to the damn thing, person listening to this. Pick it up and type in, what's the first day of the week? There's no consensus. Or no one knows, and there's no way to find out. I always thought it was Sunday. And then I was like, no, you end the week on the Sabbath. Okay. I'm baptized twice as a Catholic. I guess it's Wednesday. What's Google say?
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You have a choice to buy. You're a calendar man. You and I are calendar men.
I live on mine.
You and I have the same calendar. The New Japan Pro Wrestling Illustrated work of art. You got an option to buy a calendar that displays days Sunday to Saturday or Monday to Sunday. Which one are you buying?
It's a hard question. And in this instance, they're both the same art. I like them both.
Absolutely.
Exactly even. I'm probably picking Sunday first. But
That's
there's
what
no
I'm
right
talking
answer, and that's insanity that both exist and no one knows. It's the week. We don't know how the week starts.
We're still trying to figure out which.
It's
where the
crazy, Dan.
I
That was my
absolutely
only
love
point. Is that how can this not be known? How can this still be a date? But here we are.
I love that. This is the hardest question about dates we'll ever ask, and this is the hardest podcast to podcast. All right, that was Black Math. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Josh and I. Can you tell that we've done a podcast or two before? What's the song next week going to be? I know what it is. I'm not going to tell you. But you can get your guesses in on social media. You can get your guesses in the DMs or send us an email. If you like what we're doing here, rate and review this podcast on your platform of choice. And if you can, if you're feeling generous, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/hardestpodtopod and air quotes, buy me a coffee. Spoiler alert, I won't be using it for coffee. I'll probably using it to pay for hosting fees or Adobe Creative Cloud subscriptions, or I don't know, maybe a Lafayette Blues, a hand-printed or hand-painted 7-inch single that costs tens of thousands of dollars on eBay. All the necessities in life. Thank you very much for listening. The Hardest Podcast to Podcast is hosted and produced by Ryan Schaap. Artwork by Catlin. Amanda Schultz is our intern.